Hello everyone. This video is going to be a little bit about the abortion bans that block treatment for miscarriage. There is many states that is being affected by this right now. And there is a lot of doctors and nurses that is stepping up to fight this. But miscarriage is common. Very, very common. Across the United States, 15% of the pregnancies end in a miscarriage. About 900,000 wanted babies. What people don't understand is that many of the most common treatments for miscarriage are now banned under new abortion laws that the politicians passed when Roe v. Wade was overturned. When women go into early labor with an unviable pregnancy, doctors are now prevented from inducing delivery because that is technically an abortion. Instead, the women are left waiting hours or days until the heartbeat finally stops and the doctors can assist in completing the miscarriage. Other women in earlier stages of pregnancy are being sent home to suffer through a miscarriage alone in their bathrooms, extending their suffering and creating risks of complications. Women are forced to carry non-viable pregnancies to term. Imagine this. You're in a supermarket and you see a woman that is obviously pregnant. You get closer, looking at the fresh fruit. You begin a conversation asking her how far along she is, what the baby's name will be, or you congratulate her with a smile, and her reply is, "The baby is going to die, so we haven't thought of a name yet." What enters your mind at that point when you're expecting to hear, "Oh, I'm naming my baby Tanya," or Brian, or "We're going to name him Albert after his great-grandfather"? Or you hear, "We don't know when it's coming out for sure, but it will be dead." How does that traumatize you? You having nothing to do with this pregnancy. Nothing at all. But you see a pregnant woman and you're expecting a joyous answer just to hear the words, "The baby's going to die, so we haven't thought of a name yet." Imagine what the mother feels every time she has to have this conversation. It is personal. It is private. They shouldn't have to share it. But as their belly grows, more explaining is necessary because we, as civilized human beings, see a pregnant person and want to share in the joys of the new life. So not only does things like that traumatize the mother, the father, the grandparents, it traumatizes the community. Your community. I'm not speaking LGBTQIA at this moment. Yes, we deal with this too. It traumatizes us, but this is globally. This is every woman. It doesn't matter the race, the religion, the sexual orientation, or even the gender identity. Imagine your partner, your aunt, your sister, your mom is pregnant. One night there is pain, and you accompany them to the ER. The baby is too young to survive. Rather than being allowed medical care to complete the miscarriage, the distraught mother is instead forced to read brochures, fill out paperwork, and wait 14 hours for the heartbeat to stop. If you think these stories are hard to hear, or even if you think this video should have had a trigger warning attached to it, Know that women are being forced to experience them every day now, that the states that have instituted abortion bans, families and doctors are forced to stand by powerless to do anything, knowing that the lack of care also raises the risk of life-threatening or life-altering consequences for the moms. 10 states make no exception for rape or incest. 5 more ban it before most women even know that they are pregnant. 8 more have bans waiting to go into effect and are currently blocked by the courts or a Democratic governor. A few weeks after Ohio's abortion ban took effect, a 10-year-old rape victim. Let that sink in. 10-year-old rape victim was 6 weeks pregnant and was forced to travel to Indiana for an abortion, despite her body being too young to give birth and her mind already traumatized from her assault. In Alabama, it is now standard practice for doctors to force women to endure an active miscarriage alone instead of helping them through it for fear of being prosecuted by the state and facing up to 99 years in prison. In Central Texas, a hospital instructed a doctor to not treat a woman with an ectopic pregnancy until a life-threatening fallopian tube rupture occurred. Ectopic pregnancies are non-viable. Untreated, ectopic pregnancies are the leading cause of maternal death and often leave women who survive them infertile afterwards. But the doctor was instructed to not remove the quote-unquote child from the fallopian tube, knowing that it was going to rupture, that it could kill the mother in the process, that the baby was never going to reach full term in that tube. But they had to wait until the tubes ruptured before they could do anything. Thinking of the devastating pain, the mental trauma to that mother and to that doctor. Because if that doctor was instructed not to do it, that means he was going, or she was going to do it to save the mother's life, prevent so much pain and more trauma, but was told not to. And I'm not speaking LGBTQIA here for this part, for this video. Yes, you know, we have miscarriages. We have things like this that affect us too as a community. But this is globally. This is the way the United States is going, and we are supposedly leading the world in the way other countries make decisions. So for you husbands out there, your wife calls you, she's 5 months pregnant, and tells you to hurry up and come home because she's bleeding and needs to go to the hospital. You run to the office, you tell your boss, I gotta go. You clock out, you rush home, dodging squirrels and cats and people and everything else in the road just so you can get to your wife, so you can seek help for her. And then you get to the hospital and the nurse hands her a hot pack for her stomach and sends you all home because there's nothing they can do. Then you take your wife home. She's crying, she's miserable, she's in pain. She knows what's happening, you know what's happening. You know you're losing your baby. But you're having to deal with the pain that your wife, the woman that you love beyond the world, beyond the universe, you got her in your arms and she's in pain and bleeding. You're worried she's going to bleed out. Tylenol isn't cutting the pain, but they can't give stronger medication for the pain because it won't be good for the baby that's not surviving. But that's your life now. You fathers out there, you get that 2 a.m. call from your son-in-law or your daughter-in-law telling you that your daughter is in the hospital having a miscarriage. She's laying in the hospital bed crying in pain. They can't really give her anything because it'll hurt the baby. That you need to come up there because she's daddy's little girl and she wants her daddy there to protect her. So you get out of bed, throw on your shoes, you show up at the hospital in your pajamas. You go into the room, she's laying there, she's in tears, she's in pain. And the doctor tells you, we're doing all that we can. But you notice that they're not doing anything at all. You get there just in time for them to send her home, telling her to go to her OB the next day, or the next day, or the next day, to keep checking for when the heartbeat stops. Because it's going to stop. And there's nothing you can do to protect your little girl. How does that make you feel? Being this big, bad protector of a father that's been there for every scraped knee and every whacked elbow and every time a bully talked to your kid wrong, and you was there to protect and love and hug and make things better, making sure that your little daughter knew that she was your princess for life. And now you're watching her in a hospital bed, bleeding, in pain, knowing her baby's dying. And the doctor says, sorry man, there's nothing we can do. You're a mother, and your son is in the hospital with his wife or his girlfriend. And he calls you up and says, Mom, we're losing the baby. I need you. Can you come here? Can you meet us here? He's asking you questions on how he should support his partner. And you're mad. You're wanting to go off on the doctors for not helping save your grandchild. You know, just do something. Do something. There's nothing that they can do. The baby's not survivable, but they still have the baby on the ultrasound up on the screen with a very faint little heartbeat showing you the last minutes of its life. Your son wanting to know what he can do to help, wanting your support, and you have no answers because back in the day, you know, a doctor could just go in, do a D&C and get it over with and save the mother and, you know, give them some resources for counseling or something, and the family support, of course, was always there, helping people get through it. But instead of your son going out to the car to get her bag that she had packed for the hospital stay, they're wheeling her out with a hot pack on her belly and telling her to take Tylenol and go see the OBGYN the next day to see if the heartbeat's still there. How does that traumatize you as the mother of the father of the baby? There's so much going on with this. And so many of our people in this world that is giving birth, it's a joyous time. You know, this video isn't LGBTQIA related, but trans men give birth as well. Not only are they traumatized by the procedures that take place during the regular visits to the doctors, the names of body parts, and expanding breast tissue and stuff like that. There's so many traumas that come into it for a trans man to give birth, or a masculine non-binary person to give birth, that being in a situation where you're having a miscarriage and not being able to get treatment, on top of all the other traumas related to trying to start your family, trying to add on to your family, trying to be the best parent that you can be through a pregnancy that's already mentally a struggle for you, but you're bound and determined to do it because you want your family. Many of us go through it, but that baby is so worth it. It's so worth it. But then the unexpected happens, and you're dealing with even more. And a lot of the trans men that have birthing experiences have the community to fall back on. A lot of them don't have the family structure that's there for them, but the allies and the other community members and stuff, we're always there for them. We're always celebrating when a new life is born into the community. It's an amazing experience. But now we're seeing a lot more trauma related to this specific topic of miscarriages, seen as abortions, and the treatment for saving the parent's life in the process of the miscarriage. It's just not there anymore. It's a sad world where people die because a doctor can't save their life. And this is also pre-Project 2025, with the overturn of Roe versus Wade. Pre-2025. You imagine what it's going to be like after? It's going to be so much worse. There's going to be a lot of adult lives lost because a doctor can't help them. This is what we deal with now in the United States. And miscarriage, and the treatment for a miscarriage being seen as an abortion technique to an unviable fetus or embryo, it affects everybody. Parents, grandparents, community. It affects everybody. And those of y'all that think it doesn't affect you because you can't get pregnant, it affects you too. It's just a little bit of denial going on. And I hope and I pray, okay, not literally, a lot of candle, that it never happens to you, that it never happens to anyone. We need to do something to change this so that the birthing parent can have treatment. We need to allow abortions for young children who are a victim of rape or incest. We need to allow the abortion, as they say, for those who are suffering from an ectopic pregnancy. Talk to your lawmakers. Demand that they do better. Demand that they treat everybody as human instead of just something written into a law. Hopefully, we can do better than this. Have a great day, everybody.